Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Miha and welcome to my Chess Realm YouTube channel. If you follow my Instagram account, then you probably noticed some time ago I posted a very nice mate in 3 puzzle. My friend Xadrez Intelligenci pointed out that this was a game between Enrique Meking and Antonio Rocha, played in Mar del Plata zonal tournament in 1969. For those of you who don't know, Enrique Meking, also known as Mequinho, is a Brazilian grandmaster, and during the 70s he was one of the top players in the world, though he never played a world championship match. Anyway, in the game, 17-year-old Enrique Meking had white pieces and he started with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5, a6, bishop captures knight and d pawn recaptures, and we have an exchange variation of Ruy Lopez or Spanish game, however you want to call it. You might think that pawn on e5 is for free, but if knight captures, then queen to d4, attacking both knight and pawn, and black easily gains pawn back with check. So white played, white castled kingside. Now trick from before doesn't work anymore. f6 was played, d4, bishop to g4, knight on f3 is protecting pawn on d4. So by pinning knight to the queen, black is implicitly putting pressure on the d4 pawn. So white further supports it with c3, bishop to d6, bishop to e3, queen to e7, preparing maybe to castle queenside. White cannot develop his knight to his natural place on c3, so white plays knight from b goes to d2, and now knight to h6, tempting white to capture the knight. But if white captures, then g-pawn recaptures, and now g-file is open and black rook gets to harass white king. So in the game, white played h3, driving the bishop away. Black doesn't want to trade bishop for knight. Maybe the best option would be bishop to e6, because from there he would be able to control b3 square, and you will see why it is important. In the game, black played bishop to d7, and now white plays queen to b3, attacking pawn on b7. Black has to protect it somehow. The worst option is of course with bishop, because black already moved his bishop a lot. Maybe the best option here would be simply castling queenside. b7 pawn is protected, and it's not very likely that white would develop any serious attack on the black king. In the game, however, black has decided to play b6, weakening his queenside pawn structure, which will haunt him till the end of the game. White plays d pawn captures on e5, f pawn recaptures, knight goes to c4. Now black still didn't castle, but cannot castle on either side. For example, if black castles queenside, then bishop to g5, now skewering queen and gaining the exchange. If however black castles kingside, then you can see that white has then you can see that white can remove the knight and has a discover attack. But if you can think that white can simply capture bishop with check, then you are wrong, because black plays bishop to e6, attacking the queen, and after white removes the queen, then queen recaptures knight. So here in this position, white would have to play bishop to g5, attacking the queen. After black removes the queen, for example, to e6. Now white captures bishop on d6. Black queen cannot capture because of the pin. Now here there are many variations. For example, if queen captures queen, white recaptures, pawn recaptures knight, then bishop captures knight on h6, and now rook to d1. d6 pawn is attacked and is going to fall. After that, probably also pawn on e5. So white is definitely winning here. Rook to f6 doesn't help. After that, knight captures on e5. After black recaptures, then white is already a pawn up in a much better position. Okay, let's go back to our game. In the game, black played knight to f7, protecting the queen because now queen can only attack knight, but white doesn't lose the grip. Rook from f to d1 was played, attacking bishop on d6. Bishop on d6 is attacked twice and is protected 3 times. But still black cannot castle, because if black castles kingside, then knight captures on d6. Black cannot capture with queen because rook protects the knight, and black also cannot capture with knight because of the pin. So the only possibility for black here is capturing with pawn. Here white could already grab the b6 pawn, but there is much better continuation. After bishop to g5, then for example black plays queen to e6. After that, queen to e6, bishop to e6, bishop to e7, attacking the rook to e8, and now white grabs the pawn on d6, also threatening with capturing pawn on e5. And if black wants further support it, then black could only play bishop to c4, and white has a much better position here. Okay, let's go back to our game. Black's problem is that pawn on c7 is protecting bishop on d6 and also pawn on b6. So maybe the best option here for black would be simply playing b5. Now b pawn is protected, forcing white to remove the knight. After maybe knight to d6, c pawn recaptures, and black here is totally fine. In the game, black saw the things a little differently, and bishop on d6 was really bothering him. So black plays bishop to c5, offering exchange of bishops, but believe it or not, with this move, black king has signed a death warrant for himself. Now white will start chasing him. Bishop captures on c5. Black has 2 ways of recapturing, either with pawn on b6 or with queen. For example, if black captures with pawn, then black already has 3 pawns on a c-file, which is very bad from strategically point of view. And moreover, then white plays queen to b7, attacking rook. So, and also pawn on c7. So after rook to f8, then maybe a4, and black is, as we could say, stoned and pinned and cannot really do anything. For example, he cannot even castle, because after that then knight to b6, forking rook and bishop. After c pawn recaptures, then rook captures, bishop on d7. After black removes the queen, then rook to d1. White is dominating the 7th rank and the d file, and is in winning position, and soon he is going to start eating black pawns. So in the game, black captures bishop with queen, and now white used the fact that black didn't castle and sacrificed the exchange. Rook captures on d7. Black is a piece down, so he has no other options but to play king to d7, and now knight captures on b6, forking king and rook. Now again, black has two ways of recapturing knight. If black captures with pawn, then queen captures knight on f7, king to c8, and then rook to d1, threatening with invasion on rook to the 7th rank, and this is losing for black. Exchange of queens doesn't help. After that, queen to d7, king to b8, knight captures on e5, and now white is going to capture on c6 with mate. There is nothing black can do about it. He can only sacrifice his knight for the, sacrifice his queen for the knight. If, for example, black tries with rook to d8, then white simply captures. After king recaptures, queen to g8. After black removes king, then queen captures rook on a8, and with the knight up, white is winning. So in the game, black has decided to capture knight with queen, and now black created some sort of fortress, trying to remove his king out of the danger zone, but in vain. White captures knight on f7, king to c8, and now knight captures on e5, and white is totally dominating the game. Soon it's hard to advise to black what he should play, because he is in losing position. Black has chosen the fastest way to losing. Queen captures pawn on b2. Now b file is open, and now white plays queen to d7, check, king to b8, queen to d1. Rook and queen are now connected. White is threatening with rook to b1, gaining the queen. Maybe black could simply capture the rook, but still with queen and knight is against two rooks is winning for white. Black, however, has decided to lose as quickly as possible and played queen captures pawn on c3, and now we have mate in 3 from my Instagram post. If you have found it, congratulations. All moves are forced, of course. White played rook to b1 check. If black plays king to c8, then it's queen to d7 checkmate. So in the game, black played king to a7, now queen to d4, queen captures queen, and knight to c6 checkmate. So I hope you like this game and that you have learned something from it. If you have any questions, my email is below in the description. Of course, I invite you to visit my Instagram page. That's it for now, and see you soon.